Good afternoon. This is the May 26th meeting of the Smart Kingston Commission. My name is Julie Noble. I am the chair, and with us today we have Commissioners Betta Broad, Jess Coonan, Kevin McAvoy, Maya Nemistow, Dan Smith, and Cal Truman. And we also have ex officio member Ellie Gartenstein representing the engineering office, and myself representing the parks department. And I'm going to call the meeting to order. It is now 5:08 p.m. We also have someone on the call in is Betta. Is that you, Betta?
Yeah, sorry. That's me, but I can hear you on the computer, but there's a problem with the phone where I can hear you on the phone, but you can't hear me on the phone. I don't know why. It's a very strange problem. I was having it the last meeting too. Anyway, this is my first time I've been able to walk my dog all day, so I really have to do that, but I'll be listening and then I'll be back and able to communicate 2 ways soon. I don't know why there's that issue with this Zoom, but anyway, I'm here.
Okay, great. So we don't have any guests, so there is no public comment. Are there any modifications to the agenda?
I would mention something.
Okay, go ahead.
Unless you might bring it up later. The New York CFA consolidated funding application dropped not too long ago. There may be some grant programs that would be applicable to the city.
Okay.
I'm thinking mostly of the Andy Murphy Center.
Yeah, we have certainly had meetings internally, so I don't mind talking about that during city sustainability projects, if that's all right. Okay, anything else?
Kevin, you're muted if you're trying to talk.
Sorry, I'm keeping the minutes, right? I'm typing at the minutes were in front of me, in front of the screen. I didn't say it, sorry. Yeah, what I was going to mention was there was a communication this morning from Melissa Everett regarding Andrew Wilner's Rondout thing, which I think it sort of floated around to a bunch of us, but I've never seen the presentation. I've seen the presentation online, but he's never presented. So I thought it was I can make that just announce. Well, I've already announced it, so we could put that under announcements, or we could discuss it. I don't know which. And the second one was I received a communication from Julia Farr, who received a communication from Bob Dandrew at New World Foundation regarding a Hudson Valley climate project that he's working on.
All right, do you want to talk about those under communications then?
Yeah, we don't have to amend the agenda then. We'll just include it there. Yeah, and I'll just read what I have, and that's it. And move on. Okay.
I am not able to get into my video on my Surface, so I'm going to come and join Ellie at her desk. I will, while I'm doing that, if everyone wants to take a look at the minutes, I will be literally 30 seconds.
It's like very backlit.
Okay. Well,
I mean, we could turn the. I just don't.
Oh.
we're putting it over there.
Okay.
I guess. Okay. Perfect. All right. So, are there any changes or amendments to the minutes? I did have one under number 5.
Okay.
Cafe, it says on the second line, but the Kingston coaches regarding an outdoor the repair cafe event.
Kingston coaches. Oh, I don't think they wanted to do it, right?
Yeah, so I think that needs to reflect
All
that.
right, well, yeah, sorry, that's yeah, incomplete text, yeah.
Touch my computer, it's okay.
Unless, Melissa's not here, right? No, all right, because she could clarify that for
No, I
sure, but I'm pretty sure
Other-
we're good. I think we're good on that.
Okay. So are there any other changes?
Do you want to try the webcam I have? Kyle got me. Sorry.
No, this is fine. Okay, so I then need a motion to accept the minutes as amended.
I can do that. Motion to accept the minutes as amended.
Maya, can I get a second?
I second.
Al? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Since I can't see everyone, let me know if you're opposed. Cal, you good?
Yep, that's an aye from me.
Okay, very good. So that is adopted. Thank you, and thank you, Kevin. All right, so moving on to the climate action plan. We had a project advisory committee meeting last week, and Citizens for Local Power went over their update on the community engagement and the process that they had gone through and kind of overviewed the whole thing. And at this point, so then what we're doing now is completing a matrix with Cadmus to compare in a more objective way a rating system for different recommendations in the climate action plan as to whether they are financially feasible, if there's community support, if they are equitable, if there's political will, ease of implementation, cost, effectiveness. So Cadmus is drafting that up, and our next project advisory committee meeting is the 2nd of June. And at that meeting, we'll be reviewing that matrix, and then the PAC will be providing input, and Cadmus will be taking that, and for the next few months, we'll be focusing in on narrowing down and drilling into the specifics of how we will actually execute each of those, a strategy for the 5 to 10 specific actions within the climate action plan. All the other actions that are not drilled down to specifics will still be included in the plan and mentioned in there, but 5 to 10 of them will have specific strategies for how to achieve that. So we're still on the timeline to be having that go through till probably September. Any questions or comments on that? Okay, I'm going to pass it over to Dan on refrigerants, and Ellie will give an update as well. I got to run back into my office because I realized that if any guests are here, then they are being permitted to come in on my desk. So I'm going to go switch this over to Ellie. Sorry for those of you in the audience. I'm having technical difficulties today, but so Dan, go ahead, and Ellie with refrigerants.
I think Ellie probably has the most recent update.
So
Submission to the Common Council for
Oh,
the
yeah.
Freon change.
So we sent a communication today to the Common Council to have the city code and fee schedule amended so that all instances of the word Freon, the brand name, are changed to refrigerants. It's a small change, but it's the first change. So probably be more to come. I don't know yet though. So we'll have to, I don't know what you guys have in mind for refrigerant policy or changes or anything, but that's what's going on right now. And that's going to, I mean, Julie sent it to the city clerk and to the president of the council about an hour ago. And it's probably going on the next laws and rules, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we'll be on laws and rules, which is on the 16th. So if anyone wants to attend that laws and rules meeting and speak on it or just be there for fun, it's on the 16th at 6:30. I don't know where it will be on the agenda. Actually, I don't have confirmation that's on the agenda, but that's where we presume it would be. And if it would go through, it would then be voted on at the July council meeting. I also just want to say that I had a discussion with DPW about refrigerants, and they are reaching out to West Kingston Recycling to, well, we talked about the issue that was brought up about the actual procedure about how we were managing things at the transfer station. And it was discussed about how refrigerant containing units are put into a dumpster, but not alone. So other things are put into that same dumpster. So they reached out to West Kingston Recycling to see about getting a separate dedicated dumpster for refrigerants or for appliances containing refrigerants. And so we are looking at that and reevaluating the processes out there. If we're not able to do that and separate them out, we are considering not taking appliances with refrigerants because we would rather direct folks to do something else where there's no risk of refrigerant release than to take them and have a risk. So I'll keep folks posted on that, and we'll see where we go from there.
So when the city is picking up appliances with a refrigerant, they're going to a central collection place. Is that at
Transfer station.
Akra, or where's it going to?
At the Kingston transfer station off the boulevard. And then we bring them to West Kingston Recycling. And they evacuate the refrigerants from those that have not been evacuated.
And West Kingston Recycling, that's along
It's on the Rondout.
the creek there, the roundabout.
It's also where we bring our scrap metal. All the rest of our material goes to Accra. But I believe that, I don't know what they do with their scrap metal and their appliances. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I wonder how well West Kingston, if they're doing the evacuation or saying they're doing it and then just throwing things into the crusher.
Yeah, I haven't looked into that. My understanding is that the DEC does regulate their operation and that they continue to pass that inspection. I don't have certification that says that they are properly evacuating refrigerants. I know that we've talked about doing that in the past. And I suppose I could certainly ask for that. I'm sort of taking for granted that if the DEC is permitting them and continuing to permit them, that they are passing muster. But maybe that's an assumption that we shouldn't be making. I don't have any reason to think that they're not, unless someone has a reason to think that they're not.
But I don't.
Yeah.
Does the city have a contract with them? Or it's just a convenience thing. It's like anything scrap, we just bring there and we get a little money back for it.
I don't know the answer to that. I don't know if we have a contract. I will find out. I don't even want to assume one way or another. I will find out though.
But Accra does take.
Shut up, Dad. Hey, Maya. Hey, Ellie. Hey, Ellie. Hi. Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody. Hi.
I think you can mute as the host. I think you can mute.
I can't believe it.
Okay.
Super excited about refrigerants.
Very excited about refrigerants. Love enthusiasm. So, anything else on refrigerants?
I don't know that. Does Accra take them? Those kind of appliances?
I don't know the answer to that. I think that they do, but I cannot say that with certainty. So I will find that out as well.
They seem to me to be a logical choice to perhaps
Yeah, I think that
forge
they
an alliance with on this sort of thing.
Yeah, I think that they do, in that if we were to stop doing it, then that's where we direct people to take theirs. I'm pretty sure that they do. I don't know where they take their refrigerants to, but I'm pretty certain that they accept them. But I can find out what they do with them. And if they also go to West Kingston, I don't know the answer to that.
Okay. Yeah, this is kind of the next piece that we're, we did the inventory, we've corrected some of the language in the statute, and the big item is chain of custody and what's happening to community refrigerant waste or the city refrigerant waste, and just ensuring that it's responsibly being reclaimed.
Right.
So that's really the last big piece in our effort.
Right. And what was the last thing you had said at the last meeting, that you finished the inventory? But what else do we need to do with that?
The questions coming after that was, does the city of Kingston have its own HVAC staff, or does it use a vendor? Does it use multiple vendors? Just figuring out who is putting hands on any Kingston equipment.
You got that.
Just making sure that they have all of their
Okay, so
EPA stuff.
I talked to purchasing, and it seems like that information is kind of scattered. Purchasing directed me to the engineering department. He said that engineering handles the refrigerants, but I know for a fact that engineering only, not handles the refrigerants, handles like the HVAC system. I know for a fact that engineering only handles the HVAC system in City Hall. So in terms of like, all other buildings that use refrigerants of any kind, like I'm sure the, information is just very scattered. Purchasing, I think I forwarded you, Dan, and Maya and Julie the email from purchasing where he said that each department handles it individually. And he said something about how we as the city don't purchase the refrigerants, but the contractors we hire to do the work bring refrigerants with them in some, if that makes sense. I'm not sure exactly what his email said, but.
I'm muted.
So if it is dispersed like that historically, I wonder if it makes sense for us to like make recommendations or like soft guidance on what the city should do with refrigerants if they're hard to trace right now.
Yeah, so like I said before, if we are not able to, well, certainly the commission can make recommendations, and I think that the commission should. In terms of what's happening right now, again, like I've made it really clear to DPW that if we're not handling them properly, we should not be handling them, and we had that conversation and agreed upon it.
Mm-hmm.
But how we handle them is the only thing that we have under our control. Even if we handle them properly and then they go to someplace else that's not handling them properly, we can't control that, but we can control whether we continue to go to that location.
Right. But I guess that's like disposal of units, but on the other side, it's like maintenance of like the HVAC system that's like in city buildings. So that would be just like recharging. And
Right.
Maybe that's what we can say, like, here's a preferred vendor that we know, is,
Yep, that's a good idea.
Just make like a citywide, whomever might be, if it's at the fire department, if someone, if the air conditioning breaks at the fire department or police department, who calls to get it repaired?
serviced, yeah.
And who are those contractors? Is there less than a half dozen HVAC contractors that the city uses, and then just making anybody who does HVAC work show their credentials and
And then we also would have a way of seeing what the recharge was, like how much was, how many pounds of refrigerants were then
right.
lost and then recharged.
And that's something that they should be doing as a licensed technician. But they should provide the city with, the template form, just saying what was removed, what kind of refrigerant was removed, what was put in.
Yeah, and then we'd be able to track how
We could
much.
do.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, to put together a policy like that, sort of similar to the anti-idling or the green fleet policy. Like, this is how we purchase, this is how we manage, this is how we dispose of. To have a uniform policy across the city, I think that's a good idea. So does somebody want to take that on? What? So it can't always default to Ellie or me.
I can work with somebody on it, but I don't know exactly like what we want to do. So I can do the internal stuff,
Right, I'm trying to think of what form is this taking?
so does it go into the code? Is that like one of the future edits that goes in there? No, it's different than that. Okay, okay.
It'd be similar to Green Fleet, so it's an internal policy that gets sent to the mayor.
So it would be a policy, but it wouldn't be codified. It would just be operational.
All right, so team Maya, Dan, and Ellie will do it, right?
Right.
Okay.
All
Excellent.
right, we'll brainstorm. We've gotten this far.
All right. Welcome, Roberto. How are you? You're muted, pal.
Hey, got Roberto in there.
You're muted. I'm sure you're saying fun things, but you're muted. Nothing.
It's hard to unmute on phones on Zoom. It might be hard to find.
All right. Well, you seem happy, Roberto. So hopefully you're happy and saying fun things. Okay. All right. So anything else on refrigerants? All right. Then moving on, I have quite a few updates on sustainability projects. One is I'm not going to keep reporting on LEDs anymore because those are done. So Kevin, you can remove those from the minutes.
Hey,
The organics diversion plan is still underway, so that's still going. Parks update, we have 2 new playgrounds being installed coming this Tuesday. So if you live near or visit Barman Park, which is on the corner of Clinton or South Clinton and Greenkill, it is going to double in equipment size. There's going to be a mega new playground there as of the end of next week. And if you live downtown near Gill Street, which is off of East Strand, it will be a brand new playground there as well. And that is a memorial playground for Raquel Knox. So that is happening next week, which is very exciting. If you live uptown and you love water, by mid-June, you will have a splash pad at the Andretta Pool, which is going to be free this year. So free pool, free splash pad. And if you drive by now, it is under construction. And if you live near Lauren Park, which is not Midtown, Uptown, or downtown, you will have a new Spinami, which is a cool spin around toy thing that goes on the playground very soon. Yeah, that's what's going on right now in terms of construction. Lots of other and if you live near the point, Kingston Point, construction should be happening within the next 2 weeks, starting through September, to build the soccer field and the new playground. Also, I am applying for funding through the Hudson River Estuary Program, which has grants due on the 2nd next week. I'm applying for river access funding, which is how I paid for the ADA ramps at Kingston Point. I'm applying for a new kayak dock. So if you are familiar with the Strand and the Promenade and under the Word Street Bridge, there is an old deteriorating kayak launch that is public, our only public launch that's for, on the water there for kayaks. And I'm applying for funding to replace that with a new ADA accessible launch with a grab bar and a launch system to be more accessible. So we'll hope for the best on that. And speaking of those grants, I am also applying next week for a grant through the Hudson River Restoration Program, local stewardship program, to fund a community preservation plan. And I will talk about that later on under new business. Something else we've been working on is, in addition to submitting the refrigerants communication, I also submitted the communication today for anti-idling, parking, enforcement. So up until now, we have several electric vehicle charging stations, but up until recently, you were not really permitted to be able to do anything about people who were parking there that were not electric vehicles. Now, New York State passed a law that says you can ticket, it's a ticketable offense to ticket folks who are parking in an electric vehicle charging station that are not charging or are not electric vehicle. But we have to pass a local ordinance that allows us to do that. And so we submitted that communication to the council today, which they will review at that same laws and rules meeting on June 16th. It's going to be a big meeting. And we submitted the anti-idling legislation. So there's 3 forms of legislation that are going through the council: the anti-idling, the the refrigerants, and the EV charging stations. 2 more things. One is that I've been working with a team here on developing a green infrastructure management plan for the city of Kingston. We have we are developing additional green infrastructure around the city, including trees and tree pits that are on Broadway. And if you haven't driven down Broadway this week, on the south side, I guess, or west side, yeah, go ahead. There are now lots and lots of plants that are there and put in for the bioswales. So 70 bioswales, miles of rail trail now, parking lots with green infrastructure, lots of things, but we don't have a management plan for that green infrastructure. So we are working on that. And we did a bike ride a couple weeks or last week or so to kind of identify, at least on one of the rail trails, areas to identify invasive species management. So we're trying to work on that in our green infrastructure plan as well. Hey, Serena, how are you? And then the last thing is this CFAs. So CFAs is consolidated funding application. So several years ago, under this current governor, Cuomo consolidated state agency grants so that most agency grants are due at the same time in the same grant platform, and that's called the CFAs. It was not offered last year, but in previous years, the city has applied for 6, 7, 8, 9 grants every year. They're very competitive, but we have a solid team of grant writers here, and we have been very successful. This year, so they're due at the end of July. However, for all those grants, we need to get council approval, and the council needs to approve, the municipality needs to approve the application. So that communication to the council needs to be in by this Friday in order for us to apply. So I know that Dan wanted to talk about certain, having ideas for applications, but I will say that at this point, we have made our decision about what we're applying for, and it's up to the council now. But just to give you an idea of what we are applying for, we did consider the Andy Murphy Center for a project of doing lead and asbestos removal. That we were not able to advance that because we needed an engineering study done on the evaluation of that system, and we don't have that. But I will say, and Ellie can speak to this when she talks about the Clean Energy Communities Leadership Round, that we are certainly in a position to be advancing solar on the Andy Murphy Center. So she'll speak to that in a moment. So for CFAs this year, we are applying for, if the council approves it, this is what we're requesting from the council. Kingston Point Park improvements phase 2. So phase 1 was taking the parking lot that was south of Delaware Avenue that's always flooded and moving it north of Delaware Avenue. That's the project that starts this month that I've been managing. So building that new parking lot, which is elevated, and the soccer field, that was phase 1. We used up that money from that grant. So phase 2 is now going to be turning the area south of Delaware Avenue, which is always underwater, into an actual wetland. So we're applying for additional funding for that because it's costing more than we thought it was going to cost. So that's one of the grants. We're applying for 4, I think, or 5. A second is Kingston Point Rail Trail phase 2. So Kingston Point Rail Trail currently goes from the Rondout Savings Bank in Midtown and winds its way down to Rondout Gardens. It is phase 2, that's phase 1. Phase 2, which we were applying for, would go from that Garrigan Drive trailhead down behind the Trolley Museum and along the waterfront and out to Kingston Point. So that's the second application. We are applying for wastewater treatment plant blowers. So one of the largest, if not the largest energy draw in the city of Kingston currently in our municipal operations is our wastewater treatment plant. And within the wastewater treatment plant, the blowers, which is a component of the operation, are an incredible energy demand, energy hog. So we are applying for funding to improve the efficiency of those blowers. Goodness, what are the other 2? Oh, we are applying for funding possibly for Dietz Stadium. So I don't know if I've mentioned this on these calls before, but we've done a major evaluation of redoing the entire, like basically a major multi-million dollar improvement project at Dietz Stadium, which includes redoing the parking lots entirely, the grandstands, the pool, the entryways, lots of different things, the electrical system, all of that. And we're applying for a section of funding to help to offset that. And there's another one, and I will remember it because I don't have my notes here, but I will remember it as I go on sometime, and I will update you on it. Can't think of it right now though. Any questions on any of those things? All right. Repair Cafe, Melissa's not here. Does anyone have any updates or know about anything about Repair Cafe? All right, and we will table that. Any update on education and outreach? Again, Melissa's not here, but.
Is Karen on today? Do we have Karen? Did she do some tabling?
Karen is not here.
Okay, well, I don't have any updates.
All right. And we have resigned to the fact that we can't find the banner, so I'm going to be reordering another one. And if we find it, we will have 2 fantastic banners. I still have it on my list to ask the library about putting in a display there, but I've been consumed with lots of other things and haven't gotten to that yet. Green Business Challenge or Green Jobs, Betta, or anyone have an update on that?
I don't, but I don't know, Cal, if you're still on, and you could give an update. I don't know if Vanna mentioned it on Monday. I wasn't able to attend the Ulster County Climate Smart meeting.
Yeah, there wasn't really new information about it. Under this category, I guess, when does CLP's second wave of internships start up?
That started actually already.
Oh, it started. Okay, then that's relevant.
Yeah, so Citizens for Local Power launched the second phase of our Green Jobs internship program on Sunday, actually. So that has kicked off, and it's a brand new cohort, a lot of young people, kind of a mix. Some people have a lot of technical experience, some not. Or that'll be going on for the next month. So that's a Green Jobs update.
That's great. And you had said that a lot of people or several people the last time got permanently placed, right?
That's my understanding. Yeah, it would be good to, if people are more interested, we could have Jess Clegg, give us the real scoop, because she's more directly in touch with, the candidates than I am. But it's my understanding that a lot of them did get placed. And I know that Judith Karpova, who some of you may know, she's an energy efficiency technician and was working for energy conservation specialist. Now she's kind of on her own, but she's involved with Citizens for Local Power. And she's been developing a project that I think she's going to start rolling out sometime soon, but it's a partnership. The reason I brought it up is because one of the candidates, Desiree, who was featured on the Ulster County Green Jobs website. I don't know if anybody's seen our Green Careers website. I'll put a link in the chat. But the county has a nice video of her talking about her experience and the program. And she is now going to be, I guess, working with Judith on a new project that's also in collaboration with BARD, to do like air quality tests and testing in Kingston apartments and buildings, and trying to, assess the conditions of especially like low income tenants, and what can be done to, mitigate a lot of the issues related to like mold and asbestos, and hopefully, then the next phase would be like weatherization, and then hopefully electrification. But the first is, just doing this kind of very basic air quality testing. So anyway, she's going to be working with Judith on that, and she's featured in the video, which you can watch at the link I just shared. So that's kind of a new, interesting development that I can say more about in the future when I have more details from Judith.
That's great. I want to share that with the CAC, because particularly the air quality subcommittee will be interested to hear about that. So is that website have the most information about it?
Well, the website I shared doesn't have any information about what I was just talking about. It more just gives kind of a high level view of what the county is doing, with green job opportunities. And this video is of Desiree talking about, her experience with the CLP Green Jobs internship. But I can, share some other details with you, Julie, from Judith, and we can have a separate meeting about it if you want, because it's like very nascent, this effort. But I think that Judith is anxious to kind of partner with the city and, key folks, and it seems like, a really interesting opportunity. And I know the CAC's main focus has been on like outdoor air quality, and this is indoor air quality, but, it's all connected.
Yeah, and of late, it's been indoor as well.
Great.
Like I myself have a monitor in my home. We have multiple community members with monitors inside our homes. So it's now both indoor and outdoor.
Okay. All right. Well, so let's circle up. I'll email you and like loop in Judith or something, and
great.
Get the ball rolling there. Cool.
Okay, thank you. Anything on Green Business Challenge?
Don't have anything more on Green Business Challenge.
All right. Kevin, any updates from zoning?
Yeah, as far as I know, they're still trying to close the contract, unless you've heard something different. I haven't. In the meantime, there's a group of people that are still holding periodic meetings on form-based code, and they refer to themselves as the Form-Based Code Committee, and I'm sort of on the email distribution list for that. they've put together a compilation of resources, and some of the people involved in that would include Erica Brown, Troy Ellen Dixon, Haley Downs, Rennie, from the Common Council, Rennie Scott Shulgis, and Anthony Tampone, who was a member with me on the one of my colleagues there on the task force. So yeah, they're continuing to meet, and Tanya Garman's provided a ton of information as well. So, but other than that, we're waiting on the Dover call. So.
All right, excellent. Sounds good, thank you. Any renewable energy updates?
Well, the Climate Action Council for the state now has all of the recommendations from the different panels. And if anyone is interested in learning more, you can watch the last, trying to get the link up for you, but they posted a link from the meeting last Monday where the different panels presented, including power generation. So the state kind of, climate action panel is very much underway and reviewing all of those recommendations. And it was really interesting, that meeting in particular, because it was power gen, which is the panel I was on. It was energy efficiency and housing, and also transportation. So pretty much, and those are the three biggest, those sectors, buildings, power gen, and transportation are, the three largest sources of greenhouse gas emissions. So arguably the most important when it comes to, climate action. And so if you wanted to watch that last meeting, or check out any of the recommendations, you could do so at this link. So that's pretty interesting. Also, people may know the legislative session is ending soon. Hold on, can you guys still hear me? My internet is being weird.
Good, you're good.
Okay. The legislative session is ending soon. And there's some opportunities to, still hopefully get some legislation moved. One piece of legislation that I thought would especially interest this group that relates to energy efficiency and building codes, our favorite subject. I know this is a little off topic from renewable energy, but it's all connected, is this program bill that was from NYSERDA, and introduced by the governor to modify how NYSERDA and the Department of State do the building codes, and it would enable them to factor in greenhouse gas emissions. So not just energy. So you could have a, very energy efficient, say passive house, type building, but it could still have a fossil fuel, heating system. So if we ideally we want to move to having an all electric building code, this needs to get changed first. Also, it would change the payback period, which is a major problem with our current building code, which requires a 7-year payback or something. And then also accompanying that building code piece of it is this better appliance standard bill, also is introduced in the same kind of program bill that would really improve our efficiency for appliances, and something that 6 other states have passed, and it's just sort of a no-brainer. Why wouldn't we pass this? It will save New York billions of dollars, the average household $135 a year, and of course we'll save a lot of energy. So we really need to get this done, and as of right now there's not even a sponsor in the state Senate or Assembly, mostly I think because Cuomo's political situation is what it is, and so he doesn't have the same mojo to get his bills that he introduces passed. But this really doesn't have anything to do with him. This has to do with, like a really important program bill that NYSERDA developed. So anyway, I think everyone on this commission would support it and want to see it happen. So I put a link in the chat. If you go to that link, you can just send a message, very quickly, put in your contact info. It'll send an email automatically to the Senate Majority Leader, Andrea Stewart-Cousins, and the Assembly Leader, Carl Hastie. It's really up to them to move this bill forward, and they need to hear from people. Or if you have some kind of connection to the Senate, that would be great too. But anyway, so hopefully that'll pass, and we'll be, farther along the road to an all-electric energy code, which also I should say was one of the recommendations from the Energy Efficiency and Housing Panel of the Climate Action Council. It was passing, better building code and energy, appliance standards bills. So this has to get done in order to stay on schedule with the building code timeline, which is reviewed and revamped every 3 years. So anyway, I know we just passed New York Stretch, which is amazing, and we all care about this, so I figured I'd share it.
Well, how does this interface with Stretch?
Well, it basically means that, if this, this will enable, the next round of Stretch and the next universal code, to be that much more ambitious. And probably the next round of Stretch isn't going to be all electric, right? I mean, but the one after that will be, the most likely. I mean, I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball, but the building code process of getting from where we are now with Stretch, which is great, which is super, energy efficient, 10% more energy efficient, it's definitely a step in the right direction, but it didn't have anything about electrification, so the next Stretch code then will have stuff about electrification ready. The Stretch code, hopefully after that, will be all electric, but they can't even even if they wanted to do an all electric code, they can't, because we have to enable them to factor in greenhouse gas emissions. I don't know. I'm so not a building code expert, but this is my, vague understanding of the situation. So we've done everything we can, for now as a city, but this is just something as individuals we can do.
We should be advocating to Mike Darcy to take action in Assemblyman Cahill's office.
We should, yeah, that is a good idea. Where is Mike Darcy? Slacker. Yeah, that would be great if, Assemblymember Cahill wanted to, try to move this forward.
So do you think that there's an action right now on behalf of the Climate Smart Commission as a whole?
I mean, I have another action the Climate Smart Commission could take, but I don't know as it relates to this. I mean, what do you have in mind? I mean, if you wanted as the chair to call, or I am, Assemblymember Cahill, or I could call and say on behalf of the Climate Smart Commission, we just did what we can do for Kingston, but in order to continue to be as aggressive as we can as a state, this legislation is really fundamental. Really just started raining hard.
Yep, and my office windows are really, really wide open.
I know, so are mine. I should probably, and
we're gonna take a really quick one. I run next door and close my windows.
Did Betta have to close? Oh, Betta, you had to close something too.
My people just were outside and came in the door and are now all wet. You guys got all wet.
Question for you about, can you hear me, Betta?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. About Andrea Stewart-Cousins, I have kind of a personal connection. We have Thanksgiving dinner together every year because of my family, on my family on my other side in Yonkers. So what, I want to pitch it to her, like, do you need a co-sponsor? I'm trying to figure out what the best way to just to get a hold of Michelle Hinchy first and then get a hold.
No, I mean, if you have a connection to Andrea's to her cousins, like she's the person.
Yeah, I do. And that's why that made me think.
Wow, that's amazing. What a great connection.
I know, totally unexpected. But then I like started talking to someone. They're like, oh, you know, she's the Senate Majority Leader. And I was like, okay, cool.
He's a big deal.
No
She,
pressure.
considering the governor's very weakened position, she could be the most like powerful person in the state.
I think she might be at this point. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Okay, yeah, I mean, really, it's up to her. Like, if she wanted, you know, she could just decide, like, let's make this happen. Like, you know, she would just, right now, I guess it's in the rules committee, and she could just pick a sponsor. She could sponsor it herself. She could have someone else sponsor it. She could
That's
make.
kind of what I wanted to know, because the last time I tried to call on an action, the person at Cahill's office was real specific, like, well, what's the bill number? And I felt like I was unprepared to make that happen. But I made the call, but I didn't have the information that they needed from me. I just want to make sure that if I'm putting this out there.
Okay. I mean, why don't I want me to email you kind of the, you know, link.
Please, yes.
All the details, and then if you also want to call me and we can talk before you get on with her or something.
Yeah, and there's another thing that I probably
get on with whoever I can, you know, help.
Yeah, there's one person in between me and her, but it's like her best friend.
Yeah.
So let me also talk to you, remind me about Jess, and we're going to have an RFP coming up for the houses for the Kingston City Land Bank. And I want to make sure that we make a connection between those guys and this RFP process. So we should talk about that too. I know I should talk to Jess, but.
No, that would be so great.
Okay. Any other action on that? Okay, thank you, Better, for the update. Hey, Smiley Man.
Sure, thanks for your interest, and very exciting to know about that great connection.
All right, so should we move on then?
Real quick, I have to hop off a little early today because I have to help with another event, but I'm glad I was able to be here for most of the meeting.
Thanks, Cal. Did you have anything you wanted to update us on before you leave?
I did attend the Ulster County Climate Smart meeting on Monday, but I was having connection issues. I don't have a good report back on that. Sorry about that.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Cal. All right, so we'll move on to CEC Leadership Round. Ellie, do you want to give us an update?
Yeah, so we have 4,700 points, 300 points shy of the 5,000 needed for our $125,000 grant that we were hoping to use for solar on this building. Still working on it. Hopefully it comes through. But if not, we are eligible for, I want to say $35,000 of funding, or is it $45,000 of funding? Well, either $35,000 or $45,000 of funding, which can also apparently be put towards solar on the Andy Murphy Neighborhood Center, but in a different way, and in a way that I don't really understand, that Carla from NYSERDA was telling us about. Do you know what she was talking about? You remember when we were on the meeting like a couple weeks ago, and she was like, even if you don't get the $125,000, we could still like get you solar on this building through some other process. Do you remember what she was saying?
I vaguely remember that conversation, but I don't remember the details of it.
But in short, hope is not lost if we don't get the $125,000. We could still potentially do solar on this building. We're still waiting on that car, though. We need a electric vehicle in order to, bring it home. But we got approval for our 3,000 and 4,000 point level money, which is really exciting. We got that today.
Thank you, Ellie. All right, solid waste management. I mentioned a little bit about just the organics plan is going on. You will be seeing shortly, I might have mentioned last month, but we have finalized a new flyer that has much more detailed information about what can and cannot be recycled in town. So we are putting that flyer out to every single resident in the city. You should be seeing it very, very shortly coming through in your mail. And so that will be, that's kind of what's going on with that process, I guess. Nothing really else going on. Oh, wait. If you haven't driven down Broadway lately, again, I mentioned the bioswales are getting planted, but also something that is new that you will see is new street cans. So this past spring or late winter or fall, I can't remember when, we bought new street cans that include recycling for Uptown. And they were deployed as our first street side recycling. And now all of Broadway and the new development of Broadway, the Broadway Streetscapes Project section, is also going to have that same system. So we are shifting to a citywide public street side recycling system as well. I understand that this is going to have limitations, and it's already had limitations. There's a lot of contamination, but we're trying it, and we're going to hope to continue to improve on that process. It is a trash can, and it is one can that says recycle on it, which is intended for bottles and cans, not paper. So we'll see how that goes, but you will start to see those around town. They are also on the rail trails. So we have a consistent system throughout the city. We're still need to purchase some more for some remaining parts of the city, but the major business areas are going to have that system street side.
Is there a sign on them that says no paper? Or does it just say recycling? Because if it just says recycling, everyone's going to think that you can put paper in there. But if it just says bottles and cans, no paper.
You know, I don't remember. I'll have to look.
Okay.
I'll have to look. What does this can say? All right. Any other old business? If not, new business, community preservation plan. So I alluded to it before, but the city is applying to the Hudson River Estuary Program's local stewardship planning grant for a community preservation plan. We may have talked about this in the past. I know that we have at the Conservation Advisory Council, but a community preservation plan is a plan that is necessary in order for a community to have, in order to establish a community preservation fund. Community preservation fund is basically a fund that is created that when a transaction happens with a property, a portion of that transaction is set aside for basically open space or community preservation based on how the plan is set up. The community of New Paltz just went through this process. We had considered going through this process last year, but in the COVID pandemic, we decided to defer to this year. Basically, this community preservation plan takes our open space plan and other historic plans and plans that the city has, combines them all together and gets down to the parcel level to identify locations throughout the city that we as a community would like to preserve. And then once that is complete and we have a plan, which is something that we can do as a municipality, the government itself can do this plan. Then the community, a nonprofit or a community organization needs to, or can take that plan and move forward to go to referendum on the next or a future election to have the community vote on whether we should be establishing this community preservation fund. That action itself, the action of lobbying and campaigning for that fund cannot be done by government officials. So once this plan, should we be successful and get the grant and write the plan, I, as a city employee, cannot work on the actual fund, but I can certainly create the plan. And once that happens, then the fund is created and a advisory group that it would be affiliated with this fund would then assure that that funding that was brought in was spent on preservation of the lands identified in the community preservation plan. Lots of jumble, but we are hopeful for this. We have been in communication with the Land Trust for several years now about this, and collaboration with the Land Trust, as certainly there are multiple community organizations that would need to really get behind this in order for it to be able to pass in a referendum. But either way, right now, the plan is something that we are looking to advance using the funding from the Hudson River Estuary Program. So I will be submitting a grant next Tuesday to that effect, and I will keep you all posted on how that will go. We did get a letter, or we're working on a letter of support from the Conservation Advisory Council. I can put in a letter of support from the Climate Smart Kingston Commission if folks feel like they're interested in doing that. Or we can not, or we can just discuss it, or, well, I just wanted to put it out there. So if the Climate Smart Kingston Commission wants to take action on it, that's something that can happen, but it doesn't have to be. Kevin, I know you've been involved in the process, so I don't know if there's anything you wanted to add.
Yeah. I think a number of groups already have submitted letters, but they were done to, Julie's working with Emily Flynn on this, and those letters of support went through Emily Flynn through Live Well. So, those groups included the Land Trust. I think the Friends of Historic Kingston. I sent one from the Nathaniel Booth House group that I'm involved with. And there are a few others kicking around. Sue Cahill also is sending in letters for the two historic boards, or Heritage and Landmarks. So that's 5 letters right there. CAC is working on it right now. And I would think this commission might want to consider that. I mean, throw it on the floor. What do you think?
Is that a motion?
I can make a motion. Yes, I'll make a motion to that we send a letter of support for this grant.
I
Okay,
second the motion.
Okay.
is there a discussion? Okay, so then I'll call for the vote. So there's a motion for the Climate Smart Kingston Commission to submit a letter of support to the city of Kingston in support of its application to the Hudson River Estuary Program for the Community Preservation Plan. All in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
I need to abstain as an employee of the estuary program.
Okay.
Okay.
Are there any other abstentions? Nope. Okay, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in favor and 1 abstention. Thank you. So I will write up that letter of support if everyone's okay with that, so that we can get it in by Tuesday. Is everyone all right with that?
Yep.
Okay. Great, thank you. And I will keep you posted. All right, announcements, communications, events, and updates. Kevin, you said you had a couple, right?
Yeah. I'm gonna go back to my email here and find Melissa Everett. We can start with Melissa, I think. Open this thing up and we're good. Okay. This had to do with Andrew Wilner. Apparently, Melissa's been in touch with Andrew Wilner, and I think he would like to present on the Rondout River Report 2040. That's sort of the gist of it. It's a pretty long email, so I won't read the whole thing. We want to make sure that the city and its relevant appointed bodies are aware and supportive of this project. If it is possible to secure a letter of support, now maybe that refers to a grant, an estuary program grant, that would be ideal. Can you suggest a next step? Now, my question on this, and it's been a question throughout, the time period he's been doing this, is the city is pretty far along on, we've had McLaren and Weston and Sampson on doing the Rondout Creek implementation for sea level rise. Now, where would this take us? I mean, it looked I mean, it could take us back to square one. That's my fear.
Yeah, I
And you may not get funding because we've already gotten funding and now you're going to switch, course in midstream, so to speak. I don't know.
yeah, I mean, from the council will, the committee will need to decide what the commission wants to do, but from the city's perspective, there's definitely been now years of planning worth and thousands of dollars of money put into multiple stages of planning along the waterfront. The Brownfield Opportunity Area implementation, the Rondout Riverport project, the waterfront, adaptation plan, all these different things. We're pursuing funding through the Army Corps, all these different things, and we are far along in that. So I would be hesitant / I don't. The city, we as a city, I could not as a city give them a letter of support saying that we support you taking this in a totally another different direction.
Right.
I would be supportive of him coming to present to the Climate Smart Kingston Commission to understand, what he's thinking, what his plan is, or what his strategy might be. Again, the commission can vote to do what the commission wants to do, but I, as a city representative, couldn't write a letter of support supporting something that's going to basically supersede what we're already working on.
Understood. Yeah. I mean, that was my sense of this sort of throughout. I had first become aware of this through, I think he had contacted Julia Farr at the Land Trust, and Julia tried to connect the two of us up, and I don't know what happened. It just fell through the cracks. I just couldn't reach him. And then he, just popped up here at Climate Smart one day, but he didn't discuss any of this.
Right.
And that sort of like baffled me a little bit. I thought he'd bring it up. Instead, he was just discussing other stuff, that Melissa was working on in terms of Repair Cafe, so it was, I'm a little bit baffled, that's all.
Yeah.
And I think, Jess, you may have had some contact like this too. I don't know if he ever reached you or he didn't.
No, I sat in a little bit on a presentation that he gave last week, and doesn't seem to be many details on economic feasibility or like community engagement or anything. I think right now it's just a vision, so it's really unclear to me. Like, it's not a plan, it seems. So I'm not really sure the direction that he wants to go either. So
Yeah. And the other person who's not in the room today that would have a say in it would be Rob Iannucci.
Right.
So, yeah, that's an open question, period. I don't think we need to discuss that, but okay. Well, that's it for that. I think do we want to invite him to present? Or do we want to refer him to the CAC to present over there? Because I think I think Emily Hauser was involved with this, as well, contacted by Melissa as well.
I mean, the thing is, like, the work that's happening down on the waterfront isn't really happening. The collaborative effort that's happening by the city isn't really happening by Climate Smart or the CAC. So him presenting Climate Smart and the CAC is fine. But the reality is, we as a city, are a city government, the executive branch is working on all of this process, and he really should be collaborating with us as a city to understand, how does this weave into what's already happening, and the Weaving the Waterfront initiative and everything that's already.
Yeah, I know. It's like a day late and a dollar short, so to speak. Yeah.
So, I mean, he can present to Climate Smart or the CAC, but then it's just going to be a matter of what does Climate Smart or the CAC do with that information. It's going to have to then relay that information to, the project managers and the mayor and everyone that's kind of moving forward these other initiatives. So, I mean, for myself personally, I would like to just hear more about what the actual process is. So if people just want to know, like, to be more informed and have a connection, we can. I just don't know if it is. I guess between the two, between CAC and Climate Smart, it would be more relevant to go through Climate Smart because of resiliency efforts or holistic processes like that. But I'm not sure what action the Climate Smart Kingston Commission would take once he did present it to us, besides say, hey, city, did you know this was going on? Or maybe we support it or don't support it, or I don't know. I would like to hear what other people think.
Yeah.
Maybe you can ask him what he needs, what he wants from us, you know, if he's going to present, or get some clarification on that.
Okay, yeah, I can do that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Not really address the letter of support thing, because that just seems to be off in a different direction completely. And it could be competing with one of the grants you're applying for, Julie. Yeah, which is sort of like, yeah, that's, yeah, where are we going with that? Yeah. Okay, so I'll get back to Melissa then and try to clarify a little bit of where he's going with this.
Okay.
And we'll leave it at that. The other thing I was going to mention that came through, that was from Bob Dandrew, and it came again through Julia Farr at the Lanchester, forwarded to me, and it's Partners for Climate Change, which is just an initiative that Local Economies Project, New World Foundation is just getting off the ground. And I haven't really looked into it. I can put the link in the chat, and I think we could probably move on, because I don't think there's a sense of urgency on this. It wasn't expressed to me that way. Does that sound good?
Sure.
Okay, and I'll mention it in the minutes, but if it looks like something people want to discuss or have presented, have a presentation, we can follow that up.
Okay. So folks can check that out. It's in the chat.
Yep. Putting the other half of it in the, oh, it's on 2 lines. Why did he do that? It's not gonna work. See if I can get that into the chat. Okay, you can move on. I'm just messing around with the chat. Okay, we're good. No, it didn't. The second one didn't, lost the hyperlink. Now forget about it. Try the first one.
Okay.
There's something wrong with the hyperlink on the other one.
All right, Serena, do you have an update on public safety?
I got the link today to go to the public safety meeting tonight, which is at 7, not 6:30. So I have a minute to put my notes together to report to them. But the link to the meeting last month was dead. I feel like I haven't been able to go to public safety for a couple months. So I emailed Elisa last week and made sure that she sent me the invitation so that I can speak at the meeting. So, I mean, other than that, I can give my report to them, but the last time I was able to attend, the big thing on their agenda was a report from the police chief. And I think I already gave that, but I'm not sure. It feels like it's been a couple of months, but their big thing was just trying to increase their community presence, working on community relations. And they were talking about doing a walkthrough kind of a thing where they actually get out and walk through the community for a part of each shift. And what was really interesting to me was they discussed how they break down the staffing for the officers on any given shift and the different wards. Sorry, this is about to get loud in my car. Just the way that they spread the on-duty officers out between the zones. They have different zones that they've identified in Kingston. And there were some good questions about how they split, who they assign shifts to, and how they kind of respond to things during the shift based on where they've got officers assigned. I thought it was super interesting because I never really knew how that worked before. I don't know what that has to do with Climate Smart, but that was the whole gist of it. They did have a really interesting conversation where they had identified this whole list of stop signs that needed to be put in all over the city at places that they didn't have them before, where people didn't think they needed them. But I think that's basically their big action right now, is making sure that there's a stop sign everywhere in Kingston that needs it, according to the State Department of Transportation. So you'll probably see a lot more stop signs that you don't think are needed. Please don't call your alderman. They've already had to go through it to get the stop signs put in. They're not going to come out. They're going in because it's a state requirement. So anyway, that was the big excitement at public safety. I did want to make an announcement about the land bank. Can you guys hear me, or is this ridiculous?
I can hear you.
Okay. There is a second marketing period opening up for the 3 homes that are being sold. There's 3 single-family affordable homes that are going to be sold in the city of Kingston by the end of the summer. So if you know anyone who is interested in applying for these homes, we're working with REPCO and Hudson River Housing across the river to qualify people. And the process has been streamlined since the first marketing period. And we are looking to get these houses sold. So if people apply for the houses and they qualify, we're probably going to have a lottery, it seems like at this point. There are more houses that are going up to get renovated right now. They're going to be, as I mentioned, or I think as I wanted to mention, there's a request for proposal that's going to come up for contractors. And we're really trying to work with local contractors on this next set of houses. So now that we've kind of established that we can pay people to do these renovations and that it's good work, if you know anybody who's a contractor in the area who's looking for work, have them seek out the RFP for the next set of houses. If you know anybody who's looking for a house in the area, have them go to kclb.org and find out if they qualify based on the income and household size requirements to participate in this lottery process. And that was my bit.
Great. I do want to know, just tag off of the information we were just talking about with the stop signs, is that one of the latest initiatives that Ellie's been working on is plotting out and understanding our energy use reduction from the shift and retrofit of lighting, street lighting, but also the shift in the recent shift of eliminating or removing certain stoplights. So in the fall, the council approved 14 and they ended up removing 11 stoplights and turning them into stop signs instead. And so Ellie has been tracking our energy data to understand what the impacts of that are on emissions and energy costs.
Mm-hmm.
And once that is a little further along, we'll have Ellie present that to this commission, because particularly the LED impact, as you might imagine, is staggering and huge. And even removing 11 stoplights when we only have 55 is pretty substantial as well. So I'll have her present that as we move forward.
Yes, we want impact statements.
That's right. Okay, Beto, did you have any update from Ulster County Climate Smart? I know Cal said that he didn't really have anything.
Yeah, unfortunately, I was not able to meet Monday, so I don't have any updates for that.
Okay. Does anyone have any other announcements, communications, events, or updates? Do we have anything we want to post on social media? Is anyone able to post on social media?
Post that link I shared about urging Andrea Stewart Cousins and Carl Hasty to pass this building codes appliance standards bill.
Who's able to do
I could do it.
do it?
I could, yes, if people are cool with that.
Are people cool with that?
Also, I had one other announcement, which I meant to email you and put on the agenda. And I know it's like been a long day already and it's late, so I don't want to take up people's time, but But I'll just put it in the chat and I'll send a follow-up email. Since people aren't gonna have time to read it now, but I'm asking organizations to sign on to this green affordable housing letter. Speaking of the land bank, and it's to urge federal funding for, a big investment in affordable housing units, investing in like energy efficiency and weatherization and electrification, and making sure that that actually gets into the American Jobs Plan, the infrastructure bill that is, fingers crossed, going to be passed in the next few months. So, it would be great if Climate Smart Kingston would sign on to it, but again, I know it's like 6:28 and I don't want to take up people's time and I should have sent it sooner, but did want to just share it. And it's, and if anybody else represents other organizations or institutions that they think would be interested in signing on, it's like kind of the intersection of like climate and equity, which I know is something that everybody cares a lot about. So I just wanted to share it. I put the form that has the letter. I could also email it as a PDF if it's easier to read.
What is the timeline that letter would be needed?
Well, we're going to start sending it probably out to congressional leaders. It's to the New York State congressional delegation. Like probably next week, we're going to start sending it out, but setting up various, meetings with staff and members is going to be an ongoing thing. And, I do have sort of a fantasy of doing like a press event, block party or rally or something in Kingston with Delgado and our local leaders. And I have no idea when that would be. So, we have a little time, but yeah, the sooner the better that we could sign on to it.
Let's have it at one of the newly renovated Kingston City Land Bank houses. I'm just almost half joking, but can you email that to me at serena@kcld.org
Yeah.
so that I have it in the right
Okay.
category?
Wait, sorry, which
Thank you.
email, Serena?
My first name, SARINA@kclb.org.
aclb.org. Okay, yeah, it's kind of would definitely be a good tie-in to that.
And plus I have an iPhone and I can't get into that Google Doc thing.
Yeah,
It's like,
I will email it to you.
it's safer than Fort Knox right now.
Yeah, I mean, right.
Get to that document if I wanted to.
Yeah, that it would be something even if the Kingston Land Bank, wanted to like sign on to it. I mean, it would be kind of a no-brainer for the Kingston Land Bank because it would mean more money.
Oh yeah, I mean, and we get our funding from Novo too, so we're all on board for funding. We need more money to buy more houses, to sell more houses, to buy more houses, to sell more houses.
Cool. Okay, so I just wanted to share it, but I don't want to take up more of people's time right now.
Betta, did you reach out to anybody with this at the Community Land Trust Committee that's been kicking around? No.
But
maybe I can. I think I can forward the link if you want. All right.
That would be great.
I'll get it to them. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and I can send everybody like a couple of lines about it and, with a link in the PDF too, just so you have it in your inbox. If that's helpful, but yeah,
I'll have it from here. I just took it out of the chat. So we're yeah. And it's linked in the minute, so I can just forward that and, yeah, that's all good.
It would be nice to have, a Kingston group signed on.
Yeah, I'm going to forward it to the Land Trust as well, those are two separate groups. Yeah, right. So that'll be two different groups I would send it to. Yeah.
Terrific. Yeah, I mean, Delgado is kind of like the perfect, he's someone who would really, I think, make a difference because he's, he's more moderate. He's, a younger kind of leader. He has a priority of green jobs, so if we can kind of get his attention on this, it could make a difference.
Okay. Any other announcements, communications, events, updates, or any other business? Okay. So our next meeting is June 23rd. And if there's no other business, I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Maya, can I get a second?
Second.
Greta, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, very good. It is 6:32. Thank you so much, everyone. I hope you all are home so you're not traveling in the rain. And if you are traveling, hold on tight. It's a wet one out there, but we need it. Okay, everyone, have a good night.
Oh, Serena, you
Thanks,
need
Julie.
the draft set of minutes, right?
Yeah, but don't drive yourself crazy because I was
No, it's,
taking notes and the
it's
meeting
sloppy
doesn't start
like
until
usual,
7.
you know. It's rough and sloppy
Okay,
with
but-
typos, but you're,
All right.
you'll figure it out.
Okay, public
Okay.
safety starts at 7, so I have a little bit of
Yeah,
a reprieve. Thank
Yeah,
you.
Okay, very good. Okay,
All right, thank you.
good luck with it.